At 7:48 p.m., I was holding her hand, smiling like a man who believed in forever. By 8:02, she told 50 people she was leaving me for her boss, on our 10th anniversary, in our home, with our wedding photo on the cake. What followed was silence, glass on tile, and the start of the coldest night of my life. The champagne was cold, the lights warm, and the laughter that filled the living room was the kind you can only get from people who think they know you, who think they're here to celebrate your forever. I held her hand. God, I was holding her hand. 10 years. A decade. I was supposed to give a toast. Our kids were with my parents for the night. The living room was packed with our closest friends, a few co-workers, her sister, her parents. My mom was smiling from the couch, glass of Pinot in hand. And my best friend Matt was already 3 whiskeys deep, trying to get my brother to relive some dumb story from my bachelor party. I stood up, clinked my glass, and everyone quieted. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the speech they'll talk about after. The one that gets replayed at our 20th, 30th, hell, maybe our 50th. I looked at her. She smiled, polite and distant. I didn't notice it then. I wish I had. I started my toast with something cheesy. How we met at that sad pizza joint near campus. How she ordered a salad and ended up stealing half my pepperoni slices. People laughed. She laughed. Then I said something about how grateful I was. How I still looked at her in the morning and thought, damn, I'm lucky. And just as I turned to her, offering her the final word like we'd planned, she took a breath and burned everything down. I have something to say too, she said, standing tall, glass in hand. I stepped aside, smiling like a fool. She looked around the room and took a pause long enough to make people lean in. I want to thank everyone for coming. You've all meant a lot to me, and to us. But I need to be honest. I'm leaving David. Tonight. A chuckle. One person thought it was a joke, then silence. I've accepted a job in Chicago, and I'm moving in with someone. My boss. His name's Carl. I've been seeing him for a while. The fucking music stopped. Literally. Someone hit pause like we were in a bad rom-com. Someone else gasped, like audibly gasped. My mom sat frozen. Her dad's mouth actually dropped open. Her sister stared at her like she was watching a stranger speak. I didn't say a word. She placed her champagne flute on the table next to the cake I'd had custom made. To 10 years, the frosting said. Beneath it, our wedding photo on edible paper. She took off her ring, just slipped it off like it was a cheap accessory, and set it down next to the glass. And then she walked out, calm, head high, no tears, no explanations. A second later, the glass slipped from the table and shattered. I still hadn't moved. My friends were looking at me like I'd just been stabbed. Her mother whispered something sharp and furious. Her husband looked like he might throw up. Her sister ran after her. I think Matt said my name, but I'm not sure. The music didn't start again. Nobody clinked glasses or cut cake. They just stood there, waiting to see if I'd collapse. I didn't. I stood there a full minute, trying to feel anything. Shock came first, then heat in my ears. Then this wave of embarrassment that made me want to melt into the carpet. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't beg. I cleared my throat. Told everyone, quietly, that they didn't have to stay, and they left. Awkward, uncomfortable, whispering as they grabbed coats and purses. Even my own mom looked like she didn't know what to say to me. Her dad came over, tried to apologize. I don't remember what I said back, or if I said anything at all. Eventually, the house was empty. I stood in our kitchen. No, my kitchen. Looking at the ring on the table. Looking at the shattered glass. The goddamn wedding photo still burned into the cake. I didn't reach for the bottle of scotch I keep in the back cabinet. I didn't smash anything. I didn't scream into a pillow. I just sat down, opened my laptop, typed, "Divorce lawyer near me." That's it. That was the moment. Not anger, not revenge, not tears, just silence. And the realization that everything I thought was stable was a fucking lie, but I still had control. Okay, I whispered to no one. Let's start with a lawyer. The hardest part wasn't the silence after she left. It was the hum of the refrigerator, that low, indifferent buzz filling the room while I sat there staring at a goddamn frosting version of our wedding photo. 10 years, shrunk to sugar and lies. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in the kitchen. At some point I moved to the couch, still in my dress shirt, tie loosened, top button undone. I looked like someone who'd lost a job, not a life. Around 3 a.m., I picked up her ring. It was still warm. I don't know how, maybe from the overhead lights or my hands. But it felt like a joke, like even the metal hadn't accepted she was gone yet. The next morning, my inbox was already pinging. Messages from friends, a couple from her family. Her dad texted me a full apology, said he didn't know, said he was ashamed. Her sister called twice, didn't leave a voicemail. My own brother sent one line, "Call me, don't shut down." He knew me too well. I didn't call. I booked a consultation with a divorce lawyer instead. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was too busy cataloging every conversation from the last 3 months. Every late night at work, every sudden need for space, every half smile when I kissed her goodnight. The signs had been there. I'd just been too comfortable or too proud to see them. I remember this one moment 3 weeks ago. I made her coffee before work. We always took it with us to the train. She didn't drink it, said she'd already had one, left it on the counter. That was the first time I noticed her wedding ring was missing. She said she forgot it in the shower. Bullshit. But I didn't push, because if you push, it means you suspect. And if you suspect, it means something's already broken. I wasn't ready to admit that then. By noon that day, the story had started spreading. One of her coworkers messaged me, someone I barely knew, said they were sorry, said it had been obvious for months, but nobody thought it was their place. Carl, the guy she left me for, was apparently very professional in public, but everyone knew they were an item. Guess I was the only one who didn't. The part that really gutted me, her mother called me. Not her, her mother. She sobbed, said she was ashamed, that they were cutting ties with her until she got her head on straight, that they didn't raise her to do something this cruel. Said she looked them all in the eye after, and acted like she was proud of what she'd done. I thanked her. I didn't mean it. I didn't know what else to say. By 5 p.m., I was home alone again. The house still smelled like candles and party food. I hadn't eaten. Couldn't. The cake was in the trash. The shattered glass was still on the floor. I finally got up, swept it all into a dustpan, tossed it, vacuumed. Not for cleanliness, just to have something to do. Movement helped. A little. Then I saw it. The framed wedding photo in the hallway. The one we took on the cliff in Big Sur. Her hair was blowing in the wind, and I was laughing at something she said about the photographer's man bun. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I took it down. Not in anger. I just couldn't look at it anymore. And when the sun finally dropped and the house went quiet again, I poured a glass of water, sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and started typing a list. Not of things I'd lost, of what I still had. And at the top, control. Fucking finally. Let her have her exit. Let her walk out with fake grace and a suitcase full of self-importance. Me? I had a name, a lawyer, and a backbone. Game on. You'd think the anger would come fast. Like a flash fire. Violent, loud, over before you can breathe. But no, it came slow. Creeping in around the corners. Like a leak in the ceiling you don't notice until the paint bubbles and drops into your coffee. It started with the mail. 3 days after the party that became an execution, I got a package addressed to both of us. Some wedding subscription bullshit. We'd been getting little anniversary-themed trinkets ever since we signed up last year. This one? A framed quote that read, "Forever isn't a time. It's a choice we make every day." Yeah, I threw that straight in the trash. But I didn't forget the irony. She made her choice, all right. On the most public fucking stage she could find. That afternoon I went through the house. Room by room. I didn't rage, didn't break anything. But I removed her. Photos, jewelry. Her stupid lavender body wash that lingered like a ghost. Her bookshelf. That ugly ceramic mug she loved. The one shaped like a fox. Into a box. Taped shut. Labeled it with her name and the date she detonated our marriage. And then I found something that stopped me. A folder. Hidden in the desk drawer I rarely opened. It had our mortgage info, tax stuff, and tucked in between, printouts of flights to Chicago. One way. Dated 2 weeks before our anniversary. She planned this. She timed this. The party, the ring, the announcement, all of it. Down to the second. Like a fucking Broadway show. And I realized I wasn't just the abandoned husband. I was the prop. That's when it hit me like a truck. The emails. I opened her old laptop. Still synced to the joint calendar, our meal planner, the shared drive. She never logged out. Carl. Fucking Carl. Hundreds of emails. Half of them about work. Half of them not. Hotel bookings. Dinner reservations. Giggly office banter turning into, "I wish I were waking up next to you." A thread where she wrote, "I'm going to do it that night. He won't see it coming. I just want it over." That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks before she smiled at me across our living room and held my hand while I toasted 10 years of nothing. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat back, shut the laptop slowly, and laughed. One bitter, broken laugh. Because now I wasn't just humiliated. I was fucking used. And that's where the anger started to flicker. Not rage. Not yet. But the spark was there. And I wasn't going to waste it on throwing plates or drunken sob stories. I was going to channel it. Into paperwork. Into preparation. Into making sure that when the dust settled, I wasn't the one crawling out of the wreckage. She started this. I'd make damn sure she didn't walk away without consequences. I clicked save on the file I'd started. Divorce. Strategy. And beneath it I typed 3 words. No more mercy. The first time I saw her again after the party, she looked like she'd lost weight. Or maybe it was the guilt. But let's be real. She never really carried guilt. Just posture. It was at our lawyer's office, 5 days post-anniversary early morning. Neutral ground. Her side wanted to keep things civil. I didn't give a damn what they wanted. I was there to set terms. She wore white, a crisp blazer, clean lines. Like she wanted to scream, "See, I'm fresh, reborn." Not a woman who blew up her marriage in front of 50 people and walked out like a mic drop. I wore gray, no tie, nothing symbolic, just tired fabric and a pulse that wouldn't calm down. Carl didn't come. Of course not. Cowards never show up for the damage they cause. We sat across the table. She wouldn't look at me at first. Then she did. Her voice? Calm. Too calm. "I want this to go smoothly, David. No drama." "No drama? You nuked our life during dessert." My lawyer did most of the talking. Smart guy, dry, no nonsense. He laid out my conditions without blinking. I kept it simple. I keep the house. No spousal support. She takes only what she came with. And she returns every cent she siphoned from our joint account the week before the party. Yes, I noticed. She blinked at that last part. That was the only crack. She opened her mouth, probably to protest, but her lawyer leaned in and whispered. She closed it. We agreed to reconvene in a week. No decisions. Just lines drawn. Positions staked. On my way out, she followed me into the hall. Said my name like we were still something. Still real. "David, I didn't want it to happen that way." I turned slowly. "Yeah? You practiced that line before or after you booked the flight?" She didn't answer. just stared at me with those unreadable eyes. I waited for regret, for something, but all I saw was the same chill I'd seen in that living room. The second she put down her glass and turned our lives into a cautionary tale, I left without saying another word. Back in the car, I sat for a while. No music, just my heartbeat and the distant sound of city traffic. I thought about how surreal it was, how fast things can shift. 1 minute you're writing a toast, the next, you're negotiating a war. I looked at my wedding ring, still on my finger. I took it off, for good this time. I didn't throw it, I didn't cry. I put it in the glove compartment. Then I drove to the gym, signed up for a membership I didn't need, because if she was going to run off and reinvent herself, I'd do one better. I'd rebuild. Not out of spite, but out of necessity. Because when someone you trust drops you into hell with a smile on their face, you either stay down, or you learn to walk through fire. And I was done standing still. It was a Tuesday when the email hit. Subject line: important. Please review before Friday's meeting. Attached was a list of shared assets she believed she was entitled to. Included half the house, my retirement account, my dog, and, this one made me laugh out loud, the espresso machine her parents gifted us 6 years ago that she never once learned to use. I stared at the list, then stared harder. She had the audacity to put our wedding album under items she wished to retain. Bitch wanted the evidence. I forwarded it to my lawyer with one line: she's dreaming. But something about that email broke the last piece of ice in my system. Because up until then, I'd been trying to handle things clean, quiet, professional. Like I could treat this like any other paperwork. Like it didn't gut me. But no more. She wanted to act like this was business? Fine. I could play cold too. That night, I pulled out the external drive I hadn't touched in 2 years. It had backups of our old emails, texts, photos, everything. I wasn't looking for dirt. I was looking for truth. I needed to remember. Not who she became, who she was, or who I thought she was. I found our first anniversary video. She'd recorded a message for me, some dumb little montage of memories. At the end, she said, "I don't know where we'll be in 10 years, but I hope it's still side by side." Well, technically she was right. She just didn't say whose side. And then I found the folder I'd forgotten existed. Red flags. Yeah, that's what I named it. Back in year 2 of our marriage, late-night notes to myself. Screenshots. Little signs I didn't want to see. A charge on our credit card for a hotel I never stayed at. Her disappearing during her sister's baby shower with no explanation. That weird, too loud laugh when I mentioned moving to a smaller town someday. The night she accidentally called me Carl in bed, I laughed it off. She blamed wine. I'd shoved it all down, buried it under routines and we're fine and everyone goes through stuff. Turns out I had receipts. I backed everything up again. Sent the cleanest parts to my lawyer, just in case. Not for vengeance, for leverage. She wanted to leave? Fine. But she didn't get to rewrite history on her way out the door. The next day, I got another message. From Carl's wife. Yeah, turns out he wasn't so single after all. The subject line? We should talk. And just like that, the game changed again. Her name was Danielle. Carl's wife, or soon-to-be ex anyway. She found me through LinkedIn of all places. Said she'd been putting pieces together for a while but hadn't connected the final dots until she saw a tagged photo from our anniversary party. The one someone posted before everything imploded. She said she saw the champagne, the cake, my wife's hand resting on Carl's shoulder. She wrote, "I knew she was sleeping with someone. I just didn't know he was this bold." We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Neutral ground, no expectations, no promises. Just two people comparing damage. Danielle was calm, poised, a little too composed. Like someone who'd already screamed into a pillow until her throat gave out and had nothing left but smoke. She laid it all out. Carl had been distant for months. Late nights, constant business trips that never quite added up. The cold shoulder, the gaslighting, the subtle implication that she was the unstable one, that she was paranoid. Turns out we had more in common than just betrayal. We'd both been turned into cautionary footnotes in someone else's selfish little origin story. She passed me a flash drive, said it had messages, photos, calendar entries, even a couple of emails where my wife asked Carl if Danielle knew anything yet. I didn't open it there, just nodded, thanked her, and said, "I'll put it to good use." Then she looked me dead in the eye and said, "If you don't burn them both down with this, I will." I didn't know what to say. What could you say to someone whose life got torched by the same match? That night, I didn't sleep. Not because of pain this time, but clarity. There were no more illusions left. No more hope that this would somehow smooth over into polite endings and quiet paperwork. This wasn't a divorce. It was a goddamn extraction. From lies, from gaslight, from the woman I thought I loved. I plugged in the flash drive, read every message. Every timestamp. My favorite? One from 3 weeks before the party. She wrote to Carl. "He still thinks we're good. It's honestly kind of sad. I'm going to break it to him at the party. Might as well go out with a bang." I laughed. Out loud. Sad? No, sweetheart. Sad was wasting 10 years on someone who thought my life was a punchline. But I wasn't sad anymore. I was armed. And the next time she saw me, she wouldn't be looking at a man she could manipulate or humiliate. She'd be looking at the man she underestimated. And that's always a fucking mistake. By the time the next meeting rolled around, I had the flash drive backed up in 3 places, cloud, local, and a USB I kept in my sock drawer. Paranoia? Maybe. But when you've been blindsided once, you stop assuming people will play fair. She walked into the conference room like nothing had changed. Still in white, like she was auditioning for a goddamn Purity commercial. I didn't flinch. Her lawyer started with the usual. Our client is willing to negotiate on the house, provided certain concessions are made on retirement assets and shared property. I didn't wait. I slid a folder across the table. My lawyer already knew the play. Her attorney opened it. Read the first few pages. The color drained from his face. He whispered something to her. She leaned over, looked at the page, and froze. It was the email. The one where she wrote about going out with a bang. The one that turned our anniversary into a stunt. Then came Carl's reply. I'll make sure the hotel is ready for when it's done. Hope the cake's good. No denial. No ambiguity. Just two arrogant assholes congratulating themselves on ruining a marriage in style. She didn't say a word, but her hands, shaking. My lawyer cleared his throat. Calm. Methodical. We believe this qualifies as premeditated emotional cruelty, supported by documented communication and financial deception. If Mr. Adler wishes to file for fault-based divorce with public disclosure, he has sufficient evidence. Her lawyer held up a hand. There's no need for threats. Let's stay constructive. I looked her dead in the eye for the first time in weeks. No threats, just truth, something we haven't had a lot of lately. For the first time since she dropped the bomb, she looked scared. And it wasn't rage, it wasn't revenge, it wasn't even satisfaction I felt. It was power, because she had played her hand, every card, and she thought I'd just fold, but I was done folding. She whispered something to her lawyer. He nodded, then turned to mine. We're prepared to concede the house, and the retirement assets. She's asking to retain only her personal belongings and a vehicle. Just like that. She was backing down, because she knew. I could drag this into the light. I could make Carl's wife part of the court proceedings. I could burn every lie to the ground. But I didn't. Not yet. We agreed to the new terms. On paper. She'd sign within the week. As she stood to leave, she looked at me like she wanted to say something. Maybe an apology. Maybe a plea. I didn't care. I stood too, buttoned my jacket, and said calmly, "Have a good life, Emily," and walked out. For the first time in weeks, I felt clean. Not fixed. Not healed. But free. And that was a damn good start. You don't realize how much noise a person makes in your life until they're gone. Not the big stuff. Conversations, arguments, footsteps. I'm talking about the little things. The faint hum of her blow-dryer at 6:45 every morning. The way she left cabinet doors open like a poltergeist. The glass of wine she never finished, sitting on the nightstand until it collected dust. All gone. The house was quieter now. Still, like it was holding its breath with me. I started sleeping on her side of the bed. Not because I missed her. Hell no. But because I needed to reclaim the space. That pillow used to smell like her expensive conditioner. Now it just smelled like laundry detergent and whatever piece I could wring out of the emptiness. The papers came in a week later. Signed, sealed, delivered. Divorce terms finalized. No contest, no appeals, no grandstanding. Just her signature, scrawled like she couldn't wait to make it official. My lawyer called to congratulate me. I didn't feel victorious. Just hollow. Because no matter how much you see it coming, no matter how prepared you are, the ending still stings. 10 years reduced to signatures and initials. The body of a marriage, zipped up in legalese. That night, I took the ring out of the glove compartment, held it in my hand for a long time. Then I drove to the river near our old hiking trail, the one we used to visit every fall, when the leaves turned and she'd pretend to care about nature while scrolling Instagram. I stood by the water, thumbed the ring once, and tossed it in. No fanfare, no dramatic goodbye, just a splash. Done. When I got back home, something unexpected was waiting in the mail. A letter, handwritten. From her. Not an email, not a text, not a forwarded message through her lawyer. An actual letter. The envelope just said my name. Inside, 5 words. You didn't deserve that. No signature. No explanation. Just that one line. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. Not forgiveness. Not closure. Just distance. Because when someone burns you that cleanly, when they salt the earth on their way out, even the apology lands like a whisper in an empty hall. Too late. Too little. Too far gone. I folded the letter once, slid it into the back of a drawer I never open, and made myself a drink. Not to toast. Not to mourn. Just to mark the end of something. Not the marriage. The part of me that still gave a damn. 3 weeks later, she showed up. No warning. No call. Just her, standing on my porch like she hadn't scorched the earth between us. It was a Saturday morning. I was barefoot, holding coffee, halfway through watering the porch plants she always said she hated. I opened the door, saw her there, and for a split second my brain short-circuited. She looked tired. Not broken. Emily never let herself break. But worn at the edges. Eyes a little duller, skin pale, like the makeup wasn't trying anymore. I didn't say anything, just stared. She spoke first. "Can we talk?" I raised an eyebrow. Not angry. Not curious. Just done. "You're 3 months and 10 years too late." She looked down, as if that would grant her humility. It didn't. "I messed up," she said. "I know that. I thought I knew what I wanted." I leaned against the doorframe, coffee still warm in my hand. "And now Carl's not it?" She flinched. So that was it. I didn't even need the answer. I didn't invite her in. I didn't move from the doorway. I wasn't about to give her a scene. This wasn't a movie. I wasn't going to stand in the rain or chase a cab or cry on a voicemail. I let her talk. "I made a mistake," she said again, softer. "I thought I needed something different. That he saw me in a way you didn't anymore. But it wasn't real. He wasn't real." She looked up then, finally met my eyes. "You were the real thing, and I broke it." I let the silence stretch so long it almost suffocated her. Then I shrugged. just one shoulder, nothing dramatic. I know, and I meant it. She took a breath like she was bracing for something, a chance, a door, a lifeline. But I didn't offer any, because here's the thing about betrayal. Once you walk someone into the fire and leave them there, you don't get to knock on their door when your new life turns out colder than expected. She stepped back, hands in her coat pockets like she was still trying to look composed. I just thought you should hear it. I nodded once. You said it, and I closed the door. Not with force, just with finality. Then I sat back down on the couch, sipped my coffee, and exhaled like I hadn't in weeks. Not because I'd won, not because she came back, but because when someone who destroyed you tries to crawl back through the ashes and all you feel is peace, that's how you know you're finally free. The first Sunday morning I woke up and didn't think of her was the strangest kind of victory. No dreams, no pit in my stomach, no phantom sound of her brushing her teeth across the hall, just sunlight bleeding through the blinds and the sound of my own breathing, steady, unbothered. I got up, made breakfast for one, black coffee, eggs over medium, toast. The little rituals I used to hate doing alone started to feel like acts of ownership. Every clean plate, every quiet minute, every decision that didn't need negotiation, it was all mine now. A month had passed since she showed up at my door. She didn't come back. No letters, no messages, no desperate late-night calls. Maybe she got the message. Maybe Carl did too. Didn't matter. I'd stopped checking. I spent that Sunday in my garage, digging through old boxes I'd avoided for years. Found photos from college, an old guitar I never learned to play, a half-finished letter I wrote to my dad before he passed. Real things, painful, grounding things, honest. That's the thing about having your life detonated. It clears the rubble for things that actually matter. I started seeing a therapist, not because I was falling apart, but because I didn't want to rebuild the same walls. I didn't want to carry my silence into the next version of me. I told her everything. The party, the ring, the way I laughed when I found the emails, the way I didn't cry when I threw the wedding album in the trash. She asked me what I wanted now, and I said, peace. Not revenge, not closure, just space to grow where someone else scorched the earth. It's strange how healing feels more like a quiet evening than a grand revelation. No big finale, no cinematic triumph, just a slow return to yourself. Some days I still feel the echo of it all, like a burn that flares up in the cold. But most days, I'm just a man with his own keys, his own name, and no one left to pretend for. And when I pass the mirror, I see someone I trust again. That's enough.